by the time they finish investing it in the French stock market, they're realizing upwards of 300 billion. So you do the math to see how much money France is taking out of Africa every year.
Watch this video by the former AU ambassador to the US, and then you will understand what the problem is with Africa.
So combined, the 14 countries are giving to France cash, cold hard cash, over $500 billion every year. And France takes that money and invests it in its own stock market under the French name, and the countries may or may not know the returns. Currently, for every 14 billion that France takes out of Africa, by the time they finish investing it in the French stock market, they're realizing upwards of 300 billion. So you do the math to see how much money France is taking out of Africa every year. And yet France has the audacity to then look at African countries and call them poor countries. Why would poor African countries give $500 billion to France year in and year out? What really gets me the most is, how does the world sit back and watch this carnage take place in Africa? Where is the United Nations? This is the body that's supposed to be looking out for any violations of human rights. It is my humble opinion that singularly, what France is doing to Africa is the biggest violation of human rights.
You know, sometimes if you are an African and you look at what is going on in Africa, you really cannot understand what the problem really is. Because as we've said it before, Africa is one of the most richest continents in the whole world, if not the richest. But you can see that Africa's development hasn't gotten anywhere. If there's one thing that you can find like everywhere in Africa, is poverty, starvation, lack of social facilities like good healthcare, good education, and so on and so forth. And one of the worst places in Africa are the French-speaking countries. You can see that in those countries, nothing is actually even going on. Democracy is bad. Rule of law is like nowhere to be found. The people are suffering and the people are starving. You ask yourself, what is really going on? Because sometimes I believe that us humans care more about ourselves and the people next to us. We care more about what people thought about us. Initially, you thought of taking care of yourself and the people closer to you. And later on, you try to extend your cycle to your friends, to the people in your community. But when it comes to the case of Africa, you all wonder why Africa isn't going anywhere. Why are the leaders in Africa not developing Africa? Why are leaders in those French-speaking African countries not doing anything to help the people in their countries? Why would a leader accept to follow a plan or to follow a policy that has been drawn up by another leader in another country, whereby this leader knows very well that the plan or the policy that he or she is trying to put in place will not benefit the people in his country? Why go ahead with such a policy? It's something that I ask myself every now and then, like, what is really the problem with Africa? Why is Africa always at the tail end of everything? And I understand that most of the times when I use the general phrase Africa, or when I use Africa generally, many people do not like it. Many people believe that, or they think that I should separate it. But I believe that we are all Africans. And whether you are from Congo or from Guinea or from Nigeria or from South Africa, we are all Africans. And we are the only ones trying to separate ourselves from each other. The Westerners or outsiders do not see us as separate people. They see us as black people. They see us as Africans. Now, I also understand that some countries in Africa are doing pretty well, like Ghana. Ghana is doing well. Ghana is doing its best to make its people happy. We have Rwanda is also doing great. Paul Kagame is doing a great job transforming Rwanda. We have countries like Ethiopia is also doing great. We have South Africa. They are all doing their best. But the reason why I always use Africa is because the vast majority of Africa is still underdeveloped. The vast majority of Africa is still suffering. The vast majority of Africa is still under the colonial influence, whether we like it or not. That is a fact. The French-speaking countries are one of the worst places you could ever find yourself. If you see a leader who is for the people, you would know. No one needs to tell you. If you see a leader who is not for the people and who doesn't love the country, you will know. Most of the leaders in these French-speaking African countries do not, and I mean do not love their countrymen, do not love the countries they are governing. And they might have quote-unquote democracy, but most of the times they are not put in by the people. Before they even go in for election, they run to France to ask for endorsement. And France tells them what to do. So they are there to do the bidding of France, not the country they are supposed to be governing. So my brothers and sisters, this is something I think we must break. We must break it because it's far too long for us Africans to let outsiders keep on influencing everything we do in our continent. We must stop this from happening. Africa is a great place. I always tell people, Africa has a lot of potentials. Africa is a wonderful place. If only we had leaders like Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana, or Paul Kagame of Rwanda, or the late Magufuli of Tanzania. These leaders are or have transformed their countries. And before I end this video, I want to really give a shout out to Paul Kagame of Rwanda for all the amazing job he is doing in his country. Leaders like that inspired young people like us to really take up the responsibility of building Africa to a level that all of us can be proud of it. So to my brothers and sisters out there, what do you think about what the former AU ambassador to the US said? Do you think that it's high time that we start doing what it takes to change the narrative? Do you think that our leaders are too chicken-minded that they cannot even stand up for themselves? Please share your thoughts and opinions with us in the comment section because, like always, we love hearing what you have to say. So thank you very much for watching this video. And like always, see you in the next one.